Cœur whisky, 3, 2, 1, stop.
100, 50, 40, 30.
Pour moi, je suis prêt à démarrer les moteurs.
Tu vas démarrer en avant.
Allons-y pour les moteurs.
Alors pour le 1.
C'est OK pour le 1.
Welcome to Airbus.
Welcome to the We Make It Fly podcast by Airbus. I'm Jeff Burridge.
And I'm Martin Aguilera. In this series, we're bringing you the fascinating stories of the people that have played a part in making Airbus the extraordinary company that it is today.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the journey. We're at the 53rd Paris Air Show at Le Bourget, just on the outskirts of Paris. And I'm standing on the Airbus Static stand. The Airbus Static is where we have some amazing products, from military, from helicopters, from commercial, ones that are flying today, ones that are going to be flying in the future, like drones and vertical takeoff and landing aircraft. And behind me as well is the Airbus Pavilion, where we have experience areas, where we host our guests, our airlines, our partners. It's an amazing week here.
I work at Defense and Space, and I'm always fascinated to be here at this air show because it's just an enormous get-together, and it shows the variety in the portfolio that we bring to our customers. If I look to the right here, I see, painted in gray, the A330 MRTT, which is actually the second aircraft that we will very soon deliver to the French Air Force. They're already very successfully operating one A330 MRTT, which is a refueling tanker aircraft. If I look further to the right, I'm seeing our Future Combat Air System Experience Center, where we bring to the people what it actually means when we talk about a system of systems for the 6th generation Future Combat Air System.
But before any aircraft reaches here, it's gone through an incredibly rigorous development process, from concept through design and of course testing.
Testing is of course the critical element to ensure that ideas become reality, as safety underpins everything that Airbus and other manufacturing do. Jeff, you've spoken to somebody who is central to the testing regime that we have put in place at Airbus. Let's hear the tape.
Here we are today. We're outside the flight test center, the Abattoir as it's called locally, where I'm very pleased to have with me today Fernando Alonso, who is recently retired head of military aircraft from Spain, and for 32 years prior to that role he was working here in the flight test center with the development aircraft and has seen many great things over those years. And I'm really looking forward to Fernando showing me around his world of flight tests and seeing just what it's like to be on that side of the runway. Welcome, Fernando.
Let's go.
So we're walking into the Abattoir and we're looking at some great black and white images. We've got the Concorde and the A300B. Fernando, you probably recognize some of those pilots.
Yeah, of course. This is the first flight crew of the Concorde, and this is the first flight crew of the first A300. The captain of the flight was Max Fisch and Bernard Ziegler with the cap. Bernard was the head of flight test when I was recruited, so Bernard recruited me. And Bernard is, for me, he's a hero. He's a myth of aviation. Thanks to his drive, thanks to his vision, the airplanes that Airbus builds today are what they are. Fly-by-wire, non-coupled side sticks, auto-thrust, all those are things that were driven by Bernard. And I was honored to be working for him for many years. And of course, as I said at the beginning, he was my hero.
Whilst we walk through up the stairs now, the Abattoir has always been a bit of a strange name to me, but I understood that many years ago when the building was first built, it was in the middle of fields. It's just a square office building, but with the development aircraft at the time all pointing their noses into the building, it looked just like horses feeding at the trough, and trough in French is Abattoir.
Je peux. So, this used to be my office for a number of years. Probably the best office in the company.
You're looking, just to describe for now, we're in the corner office. I can see, 30 aircraft, maybe more, looking over the runway. didn't start like this for you, I'm sure.
It wasn't always like that. In fact, I was not. I was physically in this building. My office was in this building for 32 years. When I joined the company in '82, I was one floor down and 50 meters to the right. I was a young engineer, serving coffees and making photocopies for the meetings of my bosses, who were at the same time my heroes. So I was very privileged. I'm not an example of mobility. Because I've been in this office all the time, but I have to say I've learned a lot, I've grown a lot, and I have become a better engineer and a better person, I hope.
Was Airbus always a company you wanted to work for?
Absolutely, yes. Did I ever imagine that when I joined this company would be where it is today? I don't think so. What thrilled me about Airbus was two things. First, the idea of Europe, that Europeans decided to get together to build one single commercial airplane to compete with other manufacturers. And second, what seduced me also was a small company, a startup. My batch number was 450. Today we're over 140,000 staff. So we were a small bunch of people, a small bunch of friends. Everybody was doing everything. So yeah, it was definitely a dream job. And it has been a dream job since.
Okay, so let's move now from here where some of your early days were spent, Fernando, to the engineering test center where the pre-development takes place. Okay, so we're now just in the reception area. I'm looking at a mass of orange cables hanging down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
And around me we have some of the test equipment, I guess one of the first systems. And I'm looking at a wall with research, development, integration and certification on. So maybe you could explain some of that for us.
Yeah, I'm someone who believes in communication, how important it is to make people understand what we're doing and why we're doing it. So we wanted, in this entrance of this building, we wanted already to set the tone as to what is being done in this building. So here we're in the reception area. We took care of actually the decoration. Look at those wires, orange wires hanging from the ceiling. Orange is the color of test equipment. And here in this panel, we explain the spread of the testing activity that goes on in this organization. So you see that we got involved with research activities, so testing new concepts, moving forward in the development to testing virtual airplanes. As the development continues, we start producing real aircraft elements, which we put together in what we call an Iron Bird. And then, of course, when the real airplane comes along, we follow the testing of the airplane in real time through the telemetry station, which is also located in this building. So the purpose of this was to give a complete spread of all the activities that the test and evaluation team of Airbus gets involved in. This team was going to be behaving as the first customer of the airplane. We would not wait until the first customer, would come and pick up the airplane. We would be actually behaving in a way that the customer would be behaving.
Okay, so we've come upstairs. We're on the second floor. We're just going to go through now and see where you worked, Fernando, and take us through that experience, please.
Yeah, I'm very, very proud of this, and I'm happy to share it with you.
So we're going through some double green doors, and we're entering a huge white hall, and I can see some 4, 5, 6 black cockpits, just the top half of cockpits, and 2 or 3 big white round semicircular bowls, I would say they look like, and there's a buzz of electronics in the background. So what are we looking at here, Fernando?
Well, I missed you saying wow when you came in here, because I think it's a wow building here. I'm very proud of this building. Here we grouped all the cockpits of all our airplanes. So you have cockpits of the A330-40, you have cockpits of the A320, of the A380, of the A350, and of the A400M. So these are the cockpits through which we fly the simulators of all these different airplanes.
And where would you, when you were working here, where would you be sat? In one of the cockpits or in around?
Yeah, I would be sitting first in my office in the abreuvoir or in one of these cockpits or traveling. But yeah, this would be my playground and my work and my office both at the same time, because for me work and fun was always together. I enjoyed what I did every single day that I did it. So for me, coming to work here or flying an airplane was as much as fun as it was as a challenge. So it was fantastic memories.
Excellent. Okay, well, let's go through to the next stage then to see what's behind these cockpits.
Yeah, let's do it.
So walking through the corridors, it feels like many other offices, but wow. As we turn the corner now and we come behind the cockpits, we're looking at this huge hangar, aircraft hangar, and it's just full of structure, framework, cabling. So the hangar, I guess, is the size of a very large football field. It's just a huge mass of metal structure. And what does this represent, Fernando?
So this is the Ironbird. This specifically is the Ironbird of the A350. We're talking about sizes. The length of this building is the size of an A350. So this is a complete replica of the hardware installed on the airplane.
I mean, it's simply incredible to think that you can be sat on the other side of this corridor with a computer and you're operating this huge system. I mean, it's amazing to see that. The scale is huge.
We've been doing Ironbirds in Airbus since day one. We actually had an Ironbird of the A300 and A310 way back. There's just so much that you need to understand of how the airplane behaves, and you cannot wait until you fly the airplane to learn about it. So that is why we decided to create these Ironbirds and to beef them up in terms of capability, so we could test as much as possible before the airplane flies. Testing is all about anticipation. If you wait until the very last minute to start testing, you will discover things which you will need to correct. So the sooner you have test means representative of the real behavior of the airplane, the sooner you can find things that don't work, or you can find things that work but would be better if they work some other way, and then you can have the opportunity of correcting them before the airplane actually flies.
So let's now go and see the aircraft itself. So we're just now in the flight test hangar. We've just come across from where the Ironbird and simulators were, and I'm just looking through a hole. I can just see A350-900 in front of me, and we're going to go and have a look at that aircraft now and see if we can get on board.
Yeah, this is, no matter how passionate I am about testing, about simulators, about Ironbirds, it's about this thing that I'm really passionate about. The real hardware, the real airplane. Wow, look at it. This is A350 MSN1. So you see the number 001 on the nose landing gear door. This is the first airplane that we flew with. I think it was 2014 or 13, something like that. I did the first flight of this airplane. An incredible moment. It's this that motivates me. It's this that makes my days. It's this that the actual hardware that has made my life in Airbus such an incredible experience. Every day I would be wanting to come to work, to fly on these things, to go in the simulators, to test these things. And then of course, what pleasure when you get the job done, and what pleasure, and now that I travel the world around and I see these airplanes.
You got great passion, Fernando. Is that something that is in the team as well? Is it in the flight test blood?
Yeah, you cannot do this job like any other job. You need to have. There's a physical connection between you and the airplane. There's a physical link between your job and the airplane. And it's I cannot imagine this job without passion. I believe all our team members are passionate about this. To what level, I don't know. But I tell you, I mean, there's no way you could do this job without passion. So, should we try going in?
Let's try.
Let's try. Be careful. Hold yourself to the handrail. Watch where you're stepping.
Okay, so we're going up the stairs now, and it is so much bigger when you stand right next to it than you feel that when you're at the airport.
And there's so much that you don't see. I mean, here you just see an incredibly beautiful and elegant shape, but there's so much that goes into it, be it in terms of the structure, the way the structure is designed, the way the materials are used.
Okay, so you were flight test engineer on this aircraft, Fernando. Let's step on board and see what it looks like now.
I was part of the crew that took this airplane up for the first time if it ever flew. First flight of an airplane is always a magic moment, because that is when all the simulations, all the predictions, all the modeling is confronted with reality, the reality of flight. So no matter how much we have progressed on the simulation, on the modeling, there's still some unexpected things that may happen or that can happen.
We've just stepped on board and I'm looking at the inside shell of the 350-900. How can you describe this? It's full of instrumentation, cables, padding and insulation. If you imagine your car stripped out with the seats, stripped out with the liner of the doors, and you've just got that shell, then this is the sort of thing you're looking at, but 1,000 times more complex, with the orange flight test cabling alongside the aircraft cabling. Grey flooring, no seats from what we can see, just a few right at the back, a lot of instrumentation, and it's another amazing sight on this journey that we're having with Fernando today. So tell us, what were you doing here, Fernando?
So this is the guy, the flight test engineer. He's the one who has defined the program. He has briefed the pilot. We have gone through the simulator. So the pilots are doing what needs to be done. And there on the back, we have all the capability to visualize all sorts of hundreds or thousands of parameters that are being recorded in these screens. And in these screens, we can see all the parameters of the airplane speed, the altitude, the internal temperatures, the flows, the pressures of the systems, all of that. So when the pilots, we go through our test plan, and as we're doing different maneuvers, we reconfigure the screens in order to be seeing the data of what the airplane is giving us. So we can see whether the test is successful, whether it's not successful, whether the system is working as per design or it's not working as per design. So it gives us the ability to diagnose and to see how the airplane or the systems are behaving.
So the time you spent with us, Fernando, you've been very giving in your time today, and for me, this really culminates much of what you've been experienced and what you've gone through. It's your baby, in a way.
Yeah, it's my baby. As you saw my body language as I was coming up the stairs of this thing. I cannot avoid it. This is part of me. This airplane is a part of me. I've been privileged to have done a number of first flights during my career in Airbus, starting in 1994 with the A340-200, and then going on through the A380, and then finishing with the A350. This specific A350. The experience of a first flight is a very unique experience. People have sometimes asked me the question, how does it feel? Are you nervous? Are you not nervous? And what I've said is that the feeling, my feeling of being in a first flight has evolved with time as I have been growing up in the company, as my responsibilities have been changing in the company. I remember the first flight of the A380. It was a fantastic experience. Technical, extremely technical. This is the biggest airplane, commercial airplane built by man. We're going to be taking it off. We made it a point that the takeoff weight would be highest than any other civil airplane has ever flown. So it was a very, very technical experience. When I travel these days around the world and I see A350s or A380s in China or in Sydney or in Santiago de Chile or in Dallas or whatever, I always feel it's a part of me. So there's a little part of me, very little part of me in each one of those airplanes.
Fernando, thank you very much for your time. It's been a fascinating personal experience for me to walk around and hear from you directly all the amazing stuff that's happening on the Flight Test Center.
Thank you very much, and happy to share with you my passion, my admiration for the things that we do. I cannot believe that we build these things. And the passion that I had in 1982 when I arrived, I think it is still intact. And every time I see these airplanes, I have goosebumps.
That was fascinating, Jeff. Fernando Alonso is known as one of the most natural leaders that we had at Airbus for many, many years. What strikes you the most when thinking of that interview, when thinking about Fernando Alonso?
Well, I've had many great days in Airbus, Martin, but honestly, that's going to go down as one of my best days in the company because I had a personal tour of some of the best parts of the flight testing in commercial aircraft from Fernando, and it was a really special day. We saw some amazing things, going from where he started all those years ago, seeing how he grew the engineering test center, how his baby, the A350, was really a result of the success that he put in place. It was fantastic.
Fernando was involved in the testing of pretty much every aircraft that Airbus ever produced. Did he reveal to you which one he liked best?
He loves the A350, but it's probably hard to get him to say which one is his favorite because I think everyone is special in its own way, and we know when you're on the airport, you're watching that flight test crew take off or land for the first time, the nerves in the crowd are tangible. What it must be like for him and the crew that are flying that, I can't even imagine.
It's hard to imagine for anybody who has not ever seen this. I've been present myself when I think the A350 had its first flight, and it's amazing to see the enthusiasm, the passion of the people that are standing there at the side of the runway, seeing this aircraft take off, fly over before it lands. It's simply amazing, and to think of knowing such people like Fernando that make this actually happen is tremendous. So Jeff, is there anything that didn't make it into the final cut but that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, I mean, when we went to the Iron Bird and we saw the simulators, I described the black cabins that we could see in this huge hall, very impressive. Well, behind those black cabins are the real simulators. You walk from what looks like a NASA Space Center type IT setup, and you just walk into the cabin of an A350, for example. And we walked on, we carried on our talking whilst the crews were testing. They came through on a simulated landing into Toulouse. The cockpit was tilting to one side, and then we could just get off and walk out again. It's quite amazing. And let's remember that that day that I spoke to him, we were only talking about his time in commercial aircraft. He's got many other chapters, and I hope we get the chance to go back and carry that story on with him another time.
Absolutely. That's something we definitely need to do. I mean, he culminated his career at Airbus Defence and Space, yep, that's something I'm looking forward to. I hope we can realize it. That concludes this edition of We Make It Fly. If you've enjoyed this podcast, like and review it on iTunes. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow us all on social media. Simply use the hashtag WeMakeItFly to get in touch with us. Give us your feedback, whether it's good or bad. We don't care. We want to know what you think. This program was made by Earshot Strategies. Executive producer is Richard Myron, and other production undertaken by Anouk Millet. I'm Martin Aguirre, and I was joined by Jeff Burge. Thanks for listening, and until next time.